Slime slavery. The title of almost any underrated YouTube channel's first playthrough episode of Slime Rancher, it's very easy to compare this game to slavery, as you capture living beings, put them in cages, forcibly feed them, and sell their products for money. But before we put a lawsuit on Monami Park, let's take a deeper dive into whether Slime Rancher is actually a game about slavery. Well, let's take a look at what slavery means in the first place. Slavery is the act of capturing beings into captivity, leaving them under one's full control, as they serve to their owners by performing deeds for their master's benefits. And just to let the half of the people who are watching that aren't aware of this know, slavery is not good. Let me quote John F. Kennedy on one of his most popular speeches about enslavement and racism. "I thought I asked for 3 enchiladas." But how close does this definition of slavery actually line up with the actions done in Slime Rancher? In Slime Rancher, there's a wide variety of gooey slimes that inhabit the far range, and when fed, these slimes produce plorts, which have a high demand for use by the market of plort buyers and sellers that need these substances. Each plort gives unique powers and abilities that have important uses these buyers need. You can even utilize them yourself with slime science in the laboratory expansion. So the act of actually selling the plorts are decently moral, because apparently mankind itself relies on these plorts. But nonetheless, these plorts are gained by absurd means, keeping these slimes in crowded and controlled corals, no room to move or play, being fed day by day, unable to escape. That sounds an awfully lot like the definition of slavery I gave, right? Now, some could argue that we have to keep slimes in these crowded corals to prevent the appearance of tar slimes. This does make a lot of sense to try and prevent, and is also another reason to be ranching these slimes other than the plort's values. But even so, from the slime's perspective, none of that stuff matters, and they're still seeing you just exploit their products. But do they even matter? How intelligent are these slimes? There are many different types of slimes found on the far range, with their behavior and patterns of just eating what they see, being scared of tars, and just being really cute. We know that slimes do have the potential to talk, with Bob being 3 slimes in a trench coat telling you to get him chickens, but let's put what some specific slimes are capable of doing into account. There are slimes that can fly, generate crystals, be rendered invisible, reach underground to grab things they can't even see, create these, solar anomalies? And slimes that can bend space and time. These guys are so powerful that they could put perpetual motion out of the question and just make infinite energy and clone infinite resources. And there could be even more powerful slimes out there across the slime sea, considering the upcoming second game shows off even more types of slimes. And I won't even get into the slime society or slimes before freaking history. So I think we should probably slow down before we underestimate these dense, powerful, superior creatures. So, okay, yeah, slimes are pretty important and intelligent. We really shouldn't be locking them up in cages. Or, well, are these corals cages? They're pretty cramped and forced, but maybe they don't have to be. It is important to keep 3 different kinds of slimes apart, but nobody said that we had to cramp them. It's very possible to just use them as simple pens for a small number of slimes, utilizing their auto-feeders, feeding them to keep them happy, and plort schluckers to keep it all clean. You'd be keeping the slimes happy, safe, and useful. So are these the requirements to make Slime Rancher not a slave game? This way would be almost unplayable, as you would barely be making any money. An alternative would be to let your slimes roam around your farm. There are 8 sections of your ranch that's very easy to keep your slimes from going from one to the other. And if you use Largos in each of them, you could actually get all 16 types of slimes roaming in your expansions, allowing you to avoid using corals, giving them access to plenty of food, making large quantities of plorts, and letting them have plenty of room to play, roam, and have fun. So if you want to play Slime Rancher morally, say no to corals. You've got no need to imprison these wonderful slimes in these absurd cages. But does it even matter? This is a video game, a very fun one too. Managing your slimes and corals carefully is part of the fun and replayability of this game. Let's not take the mechanic out of the game just because it's immoral. It's a simulation. If we put that concept in other games, then we'd have a lot of problem with a lot of games. I'm looking at you, Hotline Miami. Keep playing Slime Rancher the way you find fun, but just remember that not everything you see in a video game should be repeated. Thank you for listening.